Lay it down right here in this very moment. Lay it down. The weight on your shoulders was never the price of my love. It was never the badge of a more faithful life. It was never the test you were supposed to pass on your way to me. It was a load you started carrying because someone told you a real disciple carries more. And you believed them. And you have been bent under that lie for years. Right now, before this message ends, I'm going to lift the yoke off your neck and read you the sentence I spoke on a hillside that will give your shoulders the rest they have been hunting for. Sit with me. The unloading begins as I speak. My yoke is easy. My rest is yours. I see you. Your shoulders have a memory in them. They have been holding what no one else around you can see. And they have been holding it for so long that you have stopped knowing what your body feels like without the strain. Inside the body of the one carrying an illness with no name yet. Every step from bed to kitchen is a small negotiation with pain. There is a caregiver 3 streets over from you who has not slept a full night in months and has stopped saying so out loud because the listeners ran out. 14 days into waiting for a test result. The phone lighting up causes a chest to flinch before the eyes can even read whose name appeared. Some of you sat up most of last week with a child whose fever finally broke. Some of you are working a job that pays the bills and costs the joints. Some of you are grieving someone whose chair is still pulled out at the table. Every one of those rooms has been a room I was in. Your neighbors stopped asking how you were doing because the answer was too long. The cousin never called back after the diagnosis. The prayer has gotten shorter because saying the same one out loud one more time feels like rubbing a wound. None of that slipped past me. Your jaw has been clenched around the next bad sentence for so long you have forgotten what unclenched feels like. I am not annoyed about how much you have been hauling. I am tender about it. There is a difference between a father who notices the load and a father who is impatient with the loaded one. And I am not the second kind. I have been walking beside you on this road, matching your pace, not measuring it. You thought I was up ahead at a finish line, waiting to see whether you would arrive on time and on your own strength. I have not been at a finish line. I've been right here at your elbow, ready to take this off your shoulders. The moment you would let me. There is more to the load than the obvious parts. You have been carrying the worry that you are not recovering fast enough. You have been carrying the quiet shame of needing help and not knowing how to ask for it without feeling like you are admitting some kind of defeat. You have been carrying the guilt of being short with the people you love on a day when the body had nothing left to give. You have been carrying the math of every medication, every appointment, every bill that comes in an envelope you do not want to open. You have been carrying the fear that this season is the new normal. And the version of you that felt strong is the version that no longer exists. None of those secondary loads were on the list anyone warned you about. They climbed on quietly while you were trying to keep your head up. I see all of them, too. They count. Open both hands in your lap, palms facing up, the way someone sits when they are no longer guarding anything. That posture is not a small thing. The hands have been the chief enforcers of the carrying. They have gripped, packed, balanced, hoisted, rearranged. Let them rest a moment. Notice how the weight you have been holding rides higher in your body when the hands relax. How it slides up into the shoulders and the jaw and the brow. That is where you have been storing what was never meant to live inside a body at all. The hands you are now resting in your lap were not made to be hooks for someone else's lifetime. They were made to receive. This weight was not assembled in you by one person. It got added one quiet load at a time over many years. A parent early on taught you that strong children do not cry. So the tears went underground and you have been carrying them ever since. A sick relative needed you. And somewhere in that season, your young soul absorbed the idea that being needed is the only reliable way to be loved. So you have been making yourself useful at the cost of your own spine for decades. A boss noticed how much you could absorb and gave you more, and your sense of value got fused to the volume of what you could shoulder. A partner confused your endurance with consent and laid more on you than they should have. And somewhere along the way, in a room with stained glass windows or a kitchen with a well-meaning friend, the cross of Christ got handed to you as a recipe for the burden you were supposed to add on top of the one you already had. As if suffering itself were the proof of obedience. As if resting were a tiny betrayal of the faith. None of those teachers were me. Some loved you and were honestly repeating what had been told to them. Some used the sound of my name to keep getting more out of you. Either way, the yoke they fitted around your neck did not come from my workshop. It came from theirs. Soften your jaw for one breath. That muscle has been bracing around the next demand for so long, it has forgotten how to be loose. Let it down. Notice how much of the weight you have been carrying actually lived in that small clench. A whole body can be tired because one corner of it never stops bracing. I am asking that corner to step away from its post for a few minutes while I read you what I actually said about loads. Now hear what I actually taught about loads, because most of you grew up with the opposite gospel. The pious story you were handed like this. Suffering is the entrance fee for holiness. The saints closest to me are the ones who hurt the most and complain the least. Asking for rest is a kind of spiritual weakness. Wanting the body to stop aching is selfish. A sincere believer carries everything and questions nothing. The closer you get to me, the bigger the pack will be. Until you are either crushed or canonized. That is not what I taught. That has never been what I taught. The mental image of me you've been hauling around inside your chest. A foreman handing out shifts. An accountant measuring your worth by the strain on your spine. A distant figure mildly disappointed every time you sat down. Was drawn by pencils that were never in my hand. A few of those drawers were doing their best with whatever small picture of me they had inherited. Others were sketching with my name on purpose to keep extracting from you. Either source led to the same falsified portrait, and that falsified portrait has been costing your body. Set the drawing down. Prop it against the wall while I describe what my burden actually feels like once you finally let me carry it beside you. A yoke made by me is not a heavier version of the one you have been wearing. It is a different object entirely. A yoke from my workshop is fitted, balanced, shared. It rides where it was made to ride, and it pulls only what is yours to pull. Never what belongs to someone else. The thing you have had on your shoulders is not mine. You have been carrying things that were assigned to you by people who had no right to assign them. You have been carrying what was never on your list. What was never in your name. What was never given to you by any voice from heaven. No wonder you cannot sleep. No wonder the body aches in the morning. A body bent under another person's appointment is a body that cannot rest no matter how many hours it lies still. There is a quiet lie that gets told in chests like yours. And it goes like this. If I were a better believer, the weight would not feel this heavy. The lie says the strain is the proof of your unfaith. The lie says the people who are spiritually mature do not get tired. The lie says you should be able to handle more, smile more, pray more, give more without ever showing the wear of it on your body. That lie has been the cruelest yoke of all, because every other load got heavier the second you put it on your back. And the lie told you the heaviness was your fault. The heaviness was not your fault. The heaviness was the natural response of a body to a load that was not made for it. There is no faith strong enough to make the wrong yoke fit. The right answer was never to grow stronger. The right answer was always to wear the right yoke. There is a sentence I want to read to you now. Hear it the way it was first heard, not as a polished verse on a slide, but as words spoken out loud to people sitting in actual grass. Picture the scene briefly. A slope outdoors. A crowd that had walked since dawn. Fishermen with cracked hands. Mothers with feverish children. Workers wrecked by hard labor, widows, sick people who had walked past more religious men that morning and gotten nothing. I looked at them. I saw the loads under their clothes, the cousin nobody mentioned, the unpaid debt, the body that would not heal, the quiet shame. I did not speak for theologians. I spoke for the bent ones. These were the words Matthew 11:28-30. Come to me all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Let your eyes close on that sentence and stay closed for a moment. Do not move on. Sit inside the words while I unpack them with you slowly, the way I unpacked them on that hill. Come to me. Read the verb. It is an invitation. It is not a summons. It is not an order issued from a throne to a courtroom. It is the word a friend uses when his door is open and the kettle is already on. Come, meaning the room is ready. The chair is pulled out. The place at the table has your name on it, whether you arrive with clean hands or not. I am not asking for your application. I am asking for your tired body. The price of the meal is just showing up to it. All who labor and are heavy laden. Notice who I called. Not the strong. Not the spiritually athletic. Not the ones with their lives in order. The laboring ones. The heavy laden ones. The ones already groaning under what they had been given to carry. That is exactly who you are in this hour. That is the qualification. The weight on your shoulders is not the disqualification from my table. The weight is the very thing that means the invitation is for you. If you were not weary, this sentence would belong to someone else. Because you are, it belongs to you. I will give you rest. Look at the giving. I do not sell rest. I do not lend rest at interest. I do not parcel out rest to them. Believers who have earned a certain number of points this week. I give it. A gift is not a wage. It cannot be deserved into existence. It can only be received. You have spent years trying to earn the right to put down what you have been hauling. There is no right to earn. There is only the open hand and the moment of accepting. I will give you rest. That is the line. Take my yoke upon you. Here is where some of you might tense up again, because you hear yoke and your body remembers all the bad ones. So, let me explain mine. A yoke in the world I walked through was a wooden harness shaped to fit a pair of working animals. Never one, always two. It distributed the load. It made the work possible for both, because the stronger one pulled more and the weaker one was kept from being crushed. The yoke I am offering you is not a single neck strap. I am tightening alone around you. It is a shared harness. I am the other one inside it. The pulling is done by the two of us. The strength comes from the side that has it. On the hours, you have nothing left and the road still has miles in it. The strength still belongs to the side of the yoke that does not run out. That side is mine. Learn from me. There is a school inside the yoke. It is not the school you grew up dreading. It is a school where the lesson is exhale and the teacher walks at your pace and the curriculum is restfulness in the middle of a still difficult life. Readiness is not the prerequisite. Sitting next to me is the lesson happens beside the teacher, not in advance. As I once said through one of my prophets in another generation, those who wait on me are the ones whose strength gets renewed. And the waiting itself was the renewal, not the wait for the renewal. Stay with that for a breath. Take it in. The strength is renewed in the waiting, not after it. For I am gentle and lowly in heart. This is the sentence I want you to underline in your bones. I told them in my own voice on that hillside, gentle and lowly, not stern, not aloof, not high above and reluctantly coming down. Gentle, lowly. The very heart of the Father is bent toward the bent one. I am not a God who stands above your tiredness, disapproving of it. I am a God whose own posture is low enough to meet you exactly where the load has pushed you. You will not find condescension in my voice. You will not find a sigh of patience running thin. You will find a heart shaped by tenderness for the weary. Because the weary is who I came for. You will find rest for your souls. The rest I am offering is not only a nap. A nap is good. Your body needs more naps than it has been getting. But the rest in this sentence is deeper than sleep. It is a rest at the level of the soul. The deepest layer in you where the bracing for the next blow lives. Where the math of every threat keeps running. Where the whole family gets held together in your head at 3 o'clock in the morning. That layer can rest. That layer can stop. That layer can finally be put down. I am the only place that interior of you was ever going to find rest because I formed that interior and I know what it was built for. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Read those words slowly. Easy. Light. Not easy because there is nothing to do. Easy because the thing to do has been fitted to the shape of who I made you to be. Light because the weight that remains is the weight that was actually yours to begin with. Not the loads you absorbed from other people. Not the assignments handed to you by voices that were not mine. Not the suffering you were told you had to add in order to prove you loved me. Strip those off. What is left is light. What is left is the small portion of a life that I have asked you to walk with. And even that I am pulling alongside you. Look back at the promise I made when this short message began. I told you I would show you why the load on your shoulders was never made for the shape of your back. Here is the answer. Because most of that load was never yours. It was handed to you by people who did not have the right. It was added by teachers who did not know my voice. It was layered on by a culture that confused exhaustion with virtue. The part that actually belongs to you is small. And even that small part is shared in a harness with me. Your back is not broken because you are weak. Your back is broken because you have been carrying everyone else's appointment along with your own. And you were never built to. So here is one small practice to take with you. Big weights rarely lift in a single afternoon. Pretending otherwise would be unkind. But a tiny repeatable thing can begin right where you are. The practice has 2 beats. Beat 1, name the load out loud in whatever volume you can manage, even a whisper into a steering wheel. This worry about my mother. This fear of the test result. This debt that wakes me at 3. This grief about my brother. This sickness that will not lift. The load wants to stay nameless because nameless weights are heavier. Call it by what it actually is. Beat 2. Speak one sentence back to the load out loud. You are not mine to carry alone. That is the whole reply. Do not improvise around it. Do not explain it. Do not soften it into a polite suggestion. Speak it the way a parent speaks to a thing that has been bullying their child. Repeat the 2 beats whenever you notice the strain rising. The first attempt may register as nothing. The May 10th still feel mostly like ritual. A neck that has worn the wrong yoke for decades does not relax in an afternoon. But around the 30th round, your shoulders will dip a 1/4 inch on their own. Around the 50th, you will sleep through a night without rehearsing the burden in your dreams. Around the 100th, you will catch yourself walking through the same week with less hunch, less brace, less held breath. You will not see me lift it. You will see what got lighter once I did. There is a small after-ep to the practice. After you speak the reply, do not move on too quickly. Linger. Sit a few extra breaths inside the sound of you are not mine to carry alone. Most of you are going to rush past the relief because relief is a country you have not lived in. Stay in the country longer than feels normal. The longer you stay, the more your body learns it is allowed to be there. If something here is touching the place where the strain lives in you, drop the word rest in the comments as a small yes to your own shoulders. Pinned just above this video, 7 brief letters are already prepared for you, 1 per morning across the coming week. Receive them. And there is a 3rd piece to this practice that I want you to add when you are ready, not before. After you have named the load and said the reply, breathe out longer than you breathed in. Just once. A long exhale at the end of the sentence. The body learns more from a long exhale than from 1,000 instructions. Your nervous system has been bracing for years because the inhale has been bigger than the exhale. The way a body breathes when it is preparing for impact. A long exhale tells your body the impact is not coming. A long exhale tells your shoulders they can come down. A long exhale is the smallest possible prayer, and it lands in heaven exactly the same way the longest one does. To the listener who has tried to set burdens down in the past and walked away unchanged, the one who once brought a heavy thing to an altar and went home with the same weight on the same shoulders, then concluded the altar must have been empty. Hear me. The altar was not empty. Your body had carried the weight so long that absence felt like another version of presence. The nervous system had no category yet for relief. So it filed the moment under still bracing, just in a different room. Try again. Bring the load again. Open the palms again. Loads come off in layers because the muscles need repetition to trust that the empty space is safe. I'm not impatient with you about this. I'm the slowest, most patient teacher you will ever sit with. And I do not grade the speed of your unloading. And to the one who is wearing a load that was never about you at all, a generational burden. A family pattern, a fear you inherited before you could name it. Hear this, too. You were not the one who picked it up. You were born under it. You can still set it down. The fact that someone handed you a yoke without asking does not mean you have to wear it for life. You can refuse it without dishonoring the people who passed it to you. They were carrying what their parents handed them to. You are not breaking faith with your line by being the first to walk out from under what was never yours. You are setting a new yoke on the table, a fitted one, a shared one, so the children behind you do not inherit the strain you inherited. I want to say something to the one whose burden is a body that is not healing on the timeline the doctors hope for. You have been told to be patient, and the patience has begun to feel like another thing being asked of an already exhausted.